It's nice. I appreciate the support. Thanks, Team Reveal. So today I've stepped into one of these speaking slots today, and I'm going to be talking about digital strategy and customer journeys. For those of you who don't know, I am a digital marketing executive currently for the SeaLink travel group. I work on the South Australian brands, which do include SeaLink Kangaroo Island Adventure Tours, Kangaroo Island Odysseys, Adelaide Sightseeing, and the Captain Cook Cruises Murray Princess, which has only just recently returned to Manning from Renmark, and will be departing on its first 3-night new itinerary cruise, the Restart Cruise, on the 31st of July. So if you've got some parents or grandparents, please do get them to check out murrayprincess.com.au.
That's enough fun.
All right, I'll move on. Okay, I would see how far I could get away with that. Okay, so what we're here to talk about today, I'm here to talk to you about digital strategy and customer journeys. Now, we heard from Alyssa this morning. We also heard from Emily Primavera today as well, from SATC. We heard from Ryan today as well. And a lot of and even to some extent from Paul as well. We've talked a lot about customers today and about listening to what customers want, and trying to actually make sure that our digital marketing activities actually meet their needs and what they're actually looking for at that time. So today I'm going to be talking mostly from a customer perspective, and then looking at how we can kind of then form our digital strategies around this concept of a customer journey. So let's get into it. First slide, off we go. So customers come first. I think it's something that you would have heard a lot today, and if we were playing bingo, I think yesterday the word was pivot. Today's word, I think, is customer. I guess we need to look at why it's important to take that customer-centric approach to our marketing activities. In this day and age, it's an ever-changing environment, and we are, in some respects, spoiled for choice. So businesses and organisations really do need to keep pace with what the customer needs, because ultimately, and you think about your own experiences while I'm talking, when you're looking for something in particular, or you're looking for a need to be fulfilled, it might be, I need a holiday, or I need to find a new brand of nappies that won't leak, or it might be, I'm looking for a new doctor, or whatever it might be. You're looking to get that need fulfilled in the way that you expect it to be fulfilled. It may be that you're looking for a doctor's surgery that's open, longer than 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and that you can book an appointment online with, as opposed to one where you have to ring the rooms. Because by the time you realise you need an appointment, it's 10 o'clock at night and nothing is open. So it's about thinking about your customer and what needs that they might have, and then putting in the solutions or those digital marketing practices that are actually going to help you to convince the customer that you're the right business for them. Because if you won't do it, one of your competitors will. We're also trying to meet the needs of our customers. And when we're doing that, we're in an environment where our budgets are not necessarily as big as they were, particularly during this time of crisis. And so we are forced to be a little bit smarter with our spends. So, we might say, okay, well, look, we could target the whole of South Australia, to come to this yoga studio, for example. Well, that's great, but, that $50 that we might have to spend won't get us very far. But if it's more a case of, okay, well, let's have a look and narrow that down to people who live, close by, because people who live close by are probably more likely to attend this particular yoga studio. So taking into account the type of customer you're looking for, but also where they might be looking for this information. Oh, we're targeting mums. Okay, mums are busy. They're going to be on their phones all the time. They're on Facebook, they Google, they're looking for recommendations from friends. And so then once you start to kind of build that idea and understanding of what your customer is like and what their journey to purchase is likely to be, then you can start to see, okay, that $50, we should actually spend it on some local Facebook ads, targeting people within our local surrounds to try and get them to come to us. So ultimately, that's why it's important, So developing this idea of a customer persona, can really help you understand, your customer beyond those geographic and demographic sort of constraints. It's fairly easy to say, okay, for the Murray Princess, it's people aged over 65. Usually they're travelling from New South Wales or Victoria, and they are a retired person. And in that case, it's like, okay, well, that gives us a bit of a picture, but it doesn't really give us much more of an indication of what are their media habits like. Do they belong to any clubs or associations? What are their frustrations? We kind of, when we're looking at that particular customer for SeaLink, it's about looking at, okay, well, what frustrations might they have? They may not be as tech savvy as perhaps the younger generation, so they may not be comfortable making a purchase online. And so then that starts to kind of build out, okay, well, what kind of, sales channels do we really need to focus on? So ultimately, a customer persona, is a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer. So when you're looking at developing this, I've got a template up on the screen that you can see. Hopefully I'm not blocking it too much, but essentially it's looking at giving this person a bit of an identity. It could be that, okay, well, this is Kate. She's 42. She's active and outgoing, and she really likes to have a brunch with her girlfriends at the weekend or whatever it might be. She lives in the inner suburbs of Adelaide. Her interests are her kids or, and yoga perhaps, let's say, or any other kind of physical activity. Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to take a water break, sorry. Okay. So with, her media and brand preferences, it might be that she's a, glam Adelaide, die-hard reader. Sorry, guys. This cough just won't shift. So maybe that she's less likely to trust, newspaper sources. She might still be into like magazines. Hard to know, but these are the kinds of things that we think about. Think about the motivations, about why she wants to do things. Frustrations might be, I found something on Google, but then it turns out it's closed, or it was closed when I got there, the wrong information was online, things like that. So we think about all these different aspects, and, when you're developing this customer persona, it is something that you can sort of use either data or your gut, or ideally a combination of both. So just a little bit more about developing a persona, and there are a few approaches here that I have kind of looked at. So essentially, when you are developing a persona, whether it's a buyer persona or a customer persona, however you want to approach it, you can take a data-driven approach. I think we're very fortunate to be in this time where we don't have to go and spend, thousands of dollars with a market research firm to try and figure out some of this information. Given how active, the digital data space is, there's a lot of information that we can draw from, whether that's, your Google Analytics data around how people are using your website, where they come from, what traffic sources are referring them, where are they physically located, what age groups are they, are they the age groups that you thought that you're actually meant to be targeting, are they the gender, in most cases you might see a female skew, in which case, well, that's great because she's probably the one making the decision. So in terms of, you could be looking at your Facebook insights, your Instagram, data, any other data that you're able to pull out from Twitter, which is still pretty basic, but if your audience is active there, that's another genuine place to look. If you've got a really active burgeoning YouTube channel, tons of insights in there as well. So you've got access to quite a lot of first-party data sources. It might even be that you check out your emails and how those are going. In terms of the people who actually actively click on, or people who actually open your emails, try and see if you can create a custom audience in Facebook and find out a little bit more about them. So using that data-driven approach really can be a strong foundation for developing a customer persona. In terms of third-party data sources, you certainly can use those as well. There are a ton available. Mainly I'm referring to things like the Roy Morgan Helix personas, for example, or any of the Nielsen studies into media preferences and whatnot. Also, the Australian Bureau of Statistics has a ton of information and a ton of surveys and data that's available for all sorts of bits and pieces. So that is something that is really important for you to consider. Also, looking at customer feedback. You might, by a matter of course, currently, when someone has purchased something from you or whether they've experienced a tour with you, you might be sending them automatically a customer feedback survey. You might have a TripAdvisor page. You might have reviews on your Facebook page. Looking at that customer feedback can really help you give some insights into what you do well as a business and as a service provider or goods provider, but also equally can give you an idea of what kind of frustrations your customer might be feeling. It might be that they're like, oh, I love your service, but man, your website is slow. Or, I'm really happy that my order arrived to me on time. I've received my Adidas shoes, for my child. But the tracking number I was given didn't work, and then I didn't know where the package was, and it took like 2 weeks to get here. Which, during coronavirus, if you're in that e-commerce space and actually sending out physical goods, I think that that's something that people really want to know. Where is my package right now? We know that there are delays with COVID. We know that things are going to take longer to ship around the country. But so long as I know that it is somewhere en route, and that it has been checked in at some Australia Post facility or Shoreway or Toll or TNT or FedEx, whatever, it certainly just gives us that assurance and that security. So it's also worth looking at industry-specific third-party sources as well. So if you're in the tourism sector, which I know we've got a few people in today from the tourism sector, Tourism Australia and the Tourism Research Australia organisations do publish information around visitors, where they're from, year-on-year stats, and also around what values are important to travellers as well. So there's lots of different studies out there, and it's worthwhile going through those third-party sources to kind of get you some of that additional information around perhaps how the media preferences for your particular customer and so on. Also reviewing any other internal data, as I said. You might be tracking your sales through a different engine. It may be that, in the context of SeaLink, while website sales are a part of our business, we also have a sales centre and we also have trade channels. So looking at our sales overall certainly gives us an idea of, okay, this particular type of customer might prefer to use a travel agent to book versus someone who's maybe a bit younger and says, okay, well, I'll just book online because it's easier and I can do that at my own convenience after I've done my research. So, clicking through to the next. Just going on to customer journeys. Customer journeys really are about mapping that full customer experience. So essentially what you do is you kind of adopt that customer persona in your head and say, okay, yep, I'm going to pretend to be this person, and then go through whatever customer journey tool that you might be using. So this is a fairly common one that's taught at university, where you've got essentially the problem or need recognition. So, in the context of, okay, I'm thirsty. Let's go with something simple. I'm thirsty. I need a drink. I need something to help me, to not be thirsty anymore. I haven't got any water nearby or anything, so I need to go to the shop. Okay. So it's a fairly simple thing. You might be like, okay, I've already decided I need water, and it's probably going to be a Mount Franklin because that's the most easily accessible and closest to the counter type of thing. So you then look, I guess you go fairly swiftly through those other areas. So I think, looking at it, we might need something a little bit more complex so that we can actually see these elements of the customer journey. My fridge has just broken. I need a new fridge. I need it fairly quickly, but I haven't been looking at fridges, so I have no idea what the current fridge is. The last time I bought a fridge, it was 10 years ago. I'm sure that the smart fridges weren't around, or they were just highly expensive at that time 10 years ago. So that was the problem. The problem is I have a fridge that doesn't work. I now need a new fridge to replace this fridge. Okay. So then we go off on a research thing. Jump on Google and look at, okay, who's got fridges? The fridge that just died was a Fisher & Paykel. So I'm going to go look for a Fisher & Paykel fridge. So they'll jump onto Google. This is just kind of mapping the customer journey for this person. They look at their information search. They've come up with some options. They've looked at Good Guys. They've looked at Harvey Norman. They've looked at appliances online. They figured out, okay, well, this particular model, okay, well, now I'll go back to Google and see now whether I can find the best price for this particular model. And again, that information search kind of just keeps continuing until the customer has actually obtained enough information that they can actually make an evaluation of the alternatives that they've found. So it may be that you've found a particular fridge that's in stock at Harvey Norman and in stock at Good Guys, for example. You then look at their prices, you then make the decision, okay, it's time to go and see if we can barter down, and then ultimately make that choice in purchase, and then that's when we get to that purchase phase. They make the purchase, come home, the fridge is delivered the next day after they've made the purchase, and then they're kind of, I guess, the after-service type sort of stuff kicks in at that point. They also maybe, they look at it and go, oh, well, hopefully this fridge will be right. But it may be that, that it doesn't quite meet their expectation or whichever. So that's kind of, I guess, the sort of generic customer journey template. Depending on what industry you're in, you may find that there is actually a specific buyer journey for your particular industry. And if there is, then certainly go with that. But this is certainly a great starting point if you're looking to do something. I should mention that I'm happy to take questions at the end, and feel free to drop them in Discord because I can have a quick look on my phone. Oh, we've got some questions. Awesome. All right, well, we'll get to those at the end for sure. So when we are discovering a journey, I was talking about before how we adopt the customer persona. So you've already done the hard work, you've done your research, you've had a look at the customer persona, and you're pretending to be that person. You may even decide as part of this, you know what, I'm actually going to go do the things that this person is going to do. So once you've mapped out the journey theoretically and considered each stage of that customer journey, you might go, you know what, this is now time for me to actually action this and see what actually happens at each of these stages. And you'll find so many things where you assume something was going to happen, but then it didn't happen. And you thought, well, we better fix that in terms of the overall customer experience. Sorry, guys. Okay. And again, that kind of is where we're at. So with the customer journey, the one that I outlined before about buying the fridge, you could contact real customers, as Ryan said, ask them for 10 to 15 minutes of their time to talk about their experience with you. Or you can shadow real customers depending on what your offering is. So if you're working for a retail outlet, and you very rarely you normally sit in head office in what might be perceived as an ivory tower, actually go down to the retail stores and actually just spend some time in there and watch what customers are doing. And even just looking at the data that might come back to say, okay, well, how did people find out about us? How did people get here? Any of you using Net Promoter Score, certainly that'll give you some great indications on what you can work on and what you do well by looking at the feedback that comes through from detractors and from promoters as well. So once you've kind of drafted that journey, then you can sort of, I guess, shadow the real or go and experience the real for yourself, pretending to be a customer. You might even engage in some mystery shoppers if you've got the budget. And then once you've done that, formalise that document. Because once you've got that document actually formalised and you understand the customer and how they normally will get to your purchase, you then can really hone in on your digital activities and then sort of make sure that they really fit that customer's journey. Or if you're already doing things in that space, great. But if you, you can see that there's room for improvement, and certainly that's something we can do from there. So that's how, developing customer journeys and investing the time in by customer personas and journeys can help optimize digital marketing strategy. Because ultimately, we don't have time, particularly in the Adelaide market, where majority of us work for small to medium-sized businesses, or we work in, we work in government, either in government or your public service, obviously the biggest employer here in South Australia, or we work for, private corporates. At this current moment, budgets are still, for marketing, are still relatively small. And so trying to spend all your money everywhere, you just can't do it. It's really important to make sure that you're only spending not just the budget you've got in terms of dollars, but the resources you have. So many of you yesterday when you were introducing yourselves on Discord, hi, my name's X, I'm a marketing coordinator for Y, I'm responsible for flyers, social media, website updates, liaising with the agency, Google Ads, any graphic design work, social media management, reporting. Oh my God, I'm getting a headache just like saying all those things, let alone doing all those things. But it's very common, particularly in South Australia, for a lot of marketers to wear a lot of hats. So it's really important that whatever we spend our time doing, that we're doing something that's going to impact on the bottom line or impact on the engagement or awareness or whatever our primary goals are, depending on whether we work in for a business or if we work in government or for council or wherever. So just want to run you through an example. This is something that we worked on at work. So this is Emily. She's 35. She lives in Adelaide, likely to be the metropolitan area. And as you can see, we've gone into quite a lot of detail in our customer personas to really try and get to the nuts and bolts of who this mum is, who's going to organise her long weekends away for her family on Kangaroo Island. And, you may find that you don't need to go to this much detail. You may find that, we only need, 6 dot points to summarise our particular customer. But for us at work, we really want to get to understand why the motivations and the frustrations for this particular client, this customer, so we can actually make sure that we're there when she needs it. We also then, talk about media preferences, where does she get her inspiration to travel, her travel preferences, travel buying processes, and so on. So we really do look at, what media she trusts. Is she likely to listen to her friends or family? Is she likely to travel with her family, or would she be travelling on a girls' trip? Or, we really did build a picture up of what this person looked like and then went out. It was a really big project actually, because we were lucky enough that some of our customer service team were actually able to be involved. And I think that that's one thing that's really important. If you work in an organisation that is big enough to have customer service teams and marketing teams are separated from them, you're going to need to go talk to the customer service teams, because they really do. They deal with the customers every day. It might be that you sit in on, if you've got if there's a call centre associated where you work, go and sit in and ask if you can stay for half a day and just sit on somebody's calls. Not to monitor the quality of the service that the employee is providing, but to understand when a customer rings, what happens. So that okay, well, actually, there's some information here that if I put it on the website, it would have saved this consultant 5 minutes of explaining something. So there's always those kind of opportunities for continuous improvement. So this is an example. This is a fairly commonly used customer journey for travel sector, for tourism. And we start in the blue quadrant, which is dreaming. And once we're kind of, dreaming, I guess we can try and, from a marketing perspective, we try to trigger that dream by sharing things on Instagram. But, it's about them thinking about, wouldn't it be nice to go to, Kangaroo Island? Wouldn't it be nice to go on Murray Princess? Wouldn't it be nice to go up to Magnetic Island, Fraser Island, any other island that we operate to, which is pretty much all of them. Rottnest Island in WA, Tiwi Islands if that's your bent up in Northern Territory, and certainly North Stradbroke Island in Queensland as well. So you might be thinking, I really want an island holiday. That's what I'm really, really looking for. At which point, at some point, something will trigger you to say, you know what, I need a break. You know what, I wanted to do that for ages. I'm just going to do it. So then the research phase starts, and that kind of ties in with that research phase that we talked about in an earlier slide. Once the research is complete, they've got enough information, they've figured out what they're doing, where they want to go. Okay, cool, time to book. So the booking process might be, I go to a travel agent. The booking process might be, I'm going to book on Airbnb, my accommodation, then go straight to SeaLink to book my ferry. Then I might book my activities direct, or I might just sign up when I get there, It really just depends on the customer. And then finally experiencing the tour. So I guess for some people that would be kind of like it's the post-purchase in a way. So it's actually experiencing the tour, experiencing the ferry ride, experiencing that lying back and relaxing with a coconut drink in your hand, while you are lying on a beach somewhere. And then the sharing. So I've seen two representations of this where sharing has been put at the end and it's like a linear thing. But I think this is a much better representation because I think people are likely to share at any point throughout the customer journey. Hey guys, I'm thinking of going to Kangaroo Island. Does anyone have any recommendations? That could be a Facebook post, sharing. Or, hey guys, I found this. Is anyone else interested in coming with me? It could be Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp. Or it could be, resharing a story on Instagram. I really wish I could go here, particularly with all that stunning content that South Australian Tourism Commission share. Certainly inspires that. And then obviously when you're booking, you may not share, you might have shared, I booked, not what happened through your booking period, but certainly the experience you'll share. Then the hope is, I guess, from our perspective, is that when you share your experiences online, whether that's through Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, probably not TikTok after what we've heard about that over the last couple of days, it then triggers somebody else's dream in that, that's actually a really cool destination. I want to go see those glow-in-the-dark mushrooms like Natalie. I didn't even know we had them in South Australia until today. So, yeah, it's been certainly an eye-opening experience. So I've just got here a very, very simple digital strategy example based on using that customer persona that we talked about before with Emily, and then also matching that against the traveller's buying process. So in the first stage of dreaming, we might be able to trigger that dream by sharing inspirational Instagram posts or actually articles in trusted sources. So it might be that we get, someone from Gourmet Traveller or something like that to go on one of our tours and to write about it and publish in their glossy magazine. It might be that they do really trust places like Adelaide and Glam Adelaide, for example. So, we look at our partnerships with them and see if there are ways that we can, promote some of our products that are going to appeal to that audience. But that's where that kind of sits, anything that is sort of in the PR space is around dream. It's about inspiring people to travel. We also have recently had a national campaign that was entirely addressing this dream phase, where we ran a competition to give away 4 holiday escapes. Unfortunately, competition's shut, so you can't enter now, but that's okay. So then once this person is inspired and decides, yes, I'd like to go to one of these island destinations, she looks at it and goes, okay, well, it's time to research. So should we go into TripAdvisor? Should we going and looking at other blog posts, other websites potentially? Looking at, our own website, the sealink.com.au website for information on how to get to Kangaroo Island, where are the best places to stay, what kind of activities can I do on the island? Is it a kid-friendly place? The answer is yes. Is it appropriate, to take, should I just go for a day or should I go for 4 days? Where should we stay? All this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of research that then would go into her making the decisions around when they were going, who they were going with, even checking that other people are available and so on. So the things we can do from that perspective is making sure that when people have travelled with us, remind them at the end of a tour, hey, don't forget to leave us a review on TripAdvisor. So it's about swinging back around, okay, well, this is what the customer needs. So these are the things that we need to do as marketers to address that. Okay, cool, we've had bloggers approach us, content creators, influencers, take your pick of what you want to call them, who want to travel to the island in exchange for content. Okay. If it's the kind of content that we can see that they've got reach and it's the kind of content that we can see ourselves reusing, certainly we do consider any of those kind of options available to us. Obviously encouraging people once they're on our website looking for information, if they're looking for special offers, looking for more information, sign up to our mailing list and then making sure that we're emailing useful information to these people, as well as special offers and whatever as they come to hand. So they've decided to go to Kangaroo Island and decide, okay, I'm going to book the ferry. So the important thing for us then at that point is, okay, this particular customer is going to be booking online. We need to make sure that her experience online is the least number of clicks possible to get all the way to the end to the review cart and then all the way to cart receipt, which is like our magic page, because that magic page means that someone has bought something off the website for us. Making it straightforward to find the information they're looking for. Again, this is all really important stuff to consider when you are doing a website redesign. Again, putting your customer first is critical. It really is. I feel like we're really in a position now where businesses that are putting customers first are really going to see the benefits in the long term. Then finally, when they come through to the experience, it's like, okay, well, let's, as marketers, we just step back. We just let our ops teams do their work because they're the best ones at it. We leave our, the lovely girls, the friendly faces down at Cape Jervis to greet the people on arrival. When they get down to Cape Jervis, our team, our crews on the ferry, if you don't feel comfortable reversing your car, they'll reverse it on for you. No problem. If you feel a little bit queasy, even though the sea is flat, our team are there to help you. They've got sick bags. They've got, you can grab ginger tablets and all that sort of stuff. So we didn't always have all of these things, but in terms of making sure that we have those things is really important. And it all comes back to looking at that customer journey and what's going to be helpful and make it a more pleasant experience for our customers moving forward. The only other thing I would say that we do at the end of an experience is that as marketers, I try my best to encourage our teams to remind people, particularly our tour guides, to remind people to leave us reviews on TripAdvisor, to share their, lovely experiences on Instagram, just so that in the hopes that they'll trigger somebody else's dream. So again, in the share section there, whether it's in-person reminders or email reminders, that's all certainly part of it. I think that was I have a summary slide. Okay, cool. So ultimately, Ryan said that you guys do have a few questions, which I do believe we've got some time for, which is great. Customers are vital to the survival of business. Okay, so these are really, really important factors here. Is really important. If we don't have customers, we don't have income, we don't have revenue, we don't have a business. It's as simple as that. Catering to their needs will build loyalty and repeat purchase. Let's be honest, If people come, they have a great experience, what are they going to do? Tell everybody about you, and then if they need you again, they'll come back to you. Customer personas and journeys help you to identify these customer needs. And I think that that's something that's really important for us as marketers. And once you understand those customer needs, you'll then be able to reach the right person with the right message at the right time. Okay, I think I'm ready to take some questions.
Hey, well, we've got some questions for you.
Awesome. Let's go.
So, lots of really nice comments coming through about how good the SeaLink ops team is.
Oh,
So, I'm sure that all of those people are going straight on TripAdvisor and making sure they've left positive reviews.
please do.
So, first question is, with a company like SeaLink, is it difficult delivering relevant content across digital platforms, given the diversity of the target audiences across the different products?
Yes, is the short answer to that question.
It's a very short answer.
But no, there's a longer answer to that. It is definitely a challenge that we face in that, particularly for the SeaLink brand, SeaLink Kangaroo Island brand. It's in South Australia. It means so much more than perhaps it does in Victoria, New South Wales, or even Queensland. SeaLink started here in South Australia. It is a South Australian business originally. It has grown to become this crazy, massive 300 million national business now, publicly listed and all of that. But its origins here and the brand associations with it in South Australia are of it as a big, successful South Australian business. And so the way that we talk, in South Australia, it's mostly people who are road tripping to Kangaroo Island. So we try to cater to that by sharing great road trip imagery, people sharing their stories, what they've done, and so on. But we also keep in mind, we have our SeaLink Kangaroo Island touring options, which is more for the interstate market and international markets. And so while we do talk about our drivers, we do talk about at the moment we're really focusing on road trips because coronavirus, travel restrictions, etc. But usually, we do talk to our drivers. We ask our drivers, if you get a chance, send us a photo of you and a customer outside a bus at Remarkable Rocks. And those kind of photos go wild. And not just because people like to see people, but also because the staff members like, oh yeah, that's me. We shared a throwback one on the Murray Princess the other day, and it turned out that one of the customers is currently our vessel's fleet manager at the moment. And the comments on there were all these internal and old staff coming back and having a chat and reminiscing, and there was a real nostalgia about the thing. So it is challenging. I guess it comes back to content planning at the end of the day, and allocating enough time to put together that content. Given where we currently are in the coronavirus sort of situation where South Australian borders are open to Queensland, Northern Territory, WA and Tasmania, WA has actually not opened their borders to us. So if you travel from WA to SA, no worries. You come straight in, you do your touring, you enjoy yourself, but when you go back, you've got to sit there for 2 weeks in quarantine. Queensland is the only state, as far as I know, at this stage where we have a reciprocal, and that was only as of July 17.
The NT.
NT is the other one. So Queensland and Northern Territory are the only two states where there's unrestricted travel between SA and them. Tasmania have still kept their borders shut to everybody, so you can go out of Tasmania and hopefully not go via Melbourne, but get to Adelaide and then go back to Tasmania, but then again you'll be in 2 weeks quarantine when you get back. So all of our current efforts are really focused towards that local market, South Australian market, and encouraging people to explore their own backyard.
So, related to that, do you address different personas exclusively on different platforms, e.g. only talking to Murray Princess prospects via EDMs and not on social?
Oh, funny story. Murray Princess is actually the page that we get the most engagement on Facebook.
Really?
I kid you not.
Okay.
Yeah. So, fun fact. So, SeaLink Kangaroo Island obviously is a really well-known brand, really quite sort of well interacted with, and we get good engagement. But Murray Princess, the oldies love a chat. And they all love to say, oh, my time on the Princess.
Not that the Murray Princess is only for the elderly.
No.
It's a great thing for you to do in your 20s.
I think you'll feel extremely young if you go in your 20s. But essentially, it's interesting that Facebook is actually massive for the Murray Princess. Instagram is pretty much dead, non-existent. But Facebook is huge. SeaLink, I will say that Instagram, I think we tend to get better engagement on Instagram than we do on Facebook. But, again, there's a shift in the demographics there. But we don't typically exclusively address people. Probably, I mean, the Murray Princess is slightly different because it is an older demographic, so we're not as active on as many platforms. It's just because the audiences aren't there. So that's what it really boils down to. We do a lot of EDM activity, so email activity towards our, Murray Princess Captain Club, and that tends to go quite well as well. But typically those EDMs really contain information about upcoming cruising options and encouraging people to book again. If you're a Captain's Club member, you actually get a 10% discount on travel, on cruises. So that's the other thing too, is that trying to give those people a bit more, give them incentive to book ahead as well. But yeah, when it comes to SeaLink, certainly we don't exclude, we try to show the breadth, I guess, of what we're doing. When it comes to the advertising side of the house, though, that's probably when we're a bit more specific about the types of people that we're targeting and the type of content that we served, but we're paying for that. So, we're paying for that reach. So that's a slightly different thing.
Perfect.
Any other questions?
Does your team brainstorm customer experience to prepare for customer circumstances changing during their journey, e.g. COVID? Probably not that far, but...
Look, I think since during COVID / since COVID, we really have been reassessing from a digital marketing perspective, particularly what's important to our customers, and particularly with the national campaigns that have been going on to really promote all of the SeaLink businesses around the country under the Brilliant Travels brand. We really have been looking at ways to make sure that when Brilliant Travels does give us a referral, that page is as, the user experience on that page is as good as it can be, so that hopefully we get a conversion out of them, whether it's booking the ferry or an inquiry form or whichever. And that's kind of an internal battle sometimes, because we do have this thing like Ryan mentioned before. Sometimes it could be your boss, sometimes it could be someone else in a different department, sometimes it could just be someone walking past your desk who's got an opinion, because everybody's entitled,
SEO agency generating the content.
It could be the agency that you're working with. That's true too. But they might have ideas on what this page should look like, but not all ideas are necessarily good for the customer. And I think that that's something that I really have learnt to, particularly since I've been back from maternity leave, has been something that I've been really pushing back onto a lot of our colleagues in the office, is that like, oh, well, we've got to put this on there, we've got to put more information about this, more information about that. So, well, hang on a minute. When the customer comes through, think about what point they're at. Particularly in the context of, say, Brilliant Travels, it's likely that this person has never visited sealink.com.au before. They don't really know what Kangaroo Island is, potentially. They might be an interstater. They're not really going to be necessarily familiar with our product offering. So, we really have to be, if we've given a particular package for it to be included as part of a national campaign, that's all that should be on that page. Just that package with a call to action at the bottom to say, book now, click, add to cart, etc., and off you go. That's really what we need to hone in on. And I think that, sometimes there can be competing priorities around, but, we really need to push this as well. This other product, it really needs, we'll take advantage of this campaign. But as soon as you start diluting your pages with too much information that's not actually relevant to what you're trying to sell, I think it just off-puts customers. And they just go, you know what? Too hard basket, abandon, exit website, bounce rate. There we go.
Well, I actually happen to know the agency that does your Google ads quite well. And I know that they do a lot of work around optimizing campaigns for different demographics, because we find that, for example, the conversion rates on Murray Princess campaigns are considerably higher for older demographics. So we bid adjust for the higher demos, we bid adjust down for the lowers, and we still want to present those people because, as Christy's pointed out, she might want to buy her parents a birthday or anniversary gift or whatever it is. So we still want to capture that market, but equally they're not as valuable to us, so we can offset that.
Exactly right. Were there any other questions?
That was it for the questions.
Any other questions, Andrea? No?
All right, so we're going to go to a quick 2 or 3 minute break and get ready for our last session of the day. So get your drinks and your toilet breaks and
Actually, you can probably
come
get
back.
wine. I think it's wine time.
Yeah, I think Belle's already on that.
Yeah, right, she would be, yeah.
Yeah.